Morning, everyone. I'd like to call the New York City Transit Committee to order. Can we start with our safety announcements, please?
Your safety is of the foremost importance to the MTA. Therefore, we ask that you listen and adhere to the following instructions. If you witness an emergency, notify emergency personnel in the room and call 911 immediately. Please follow any audible instructions provided through the public address system or visually on screens in the event of an emergency. If an alarm sounds, wait for a public address announcement and follow instructions. If told to go to another floor or to evacuate the building, leave all unessential items behind and use stairwell A just across the main hallway or stairwell B down the hallway past the elevators. If you have a mobility disability or cannot self-evacuate, please proceed to stairwell D or E for assistance by MTA staff or emergency personnel. An automated external defibrillator, AED, for use by trained personnel is in the main hallway just past the elevators. If you need assistance during an evacuation, please tell an MTA staff member or emergency personnel. Thank you and have a safe day.
Thank you. Let's move on to our public speakers, please.
Good morning. We have 20 members of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. I would also like to remind our speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. The first speaker will be Michael Ring, followed by Jessica Speio.
Hiya, my name is Michael Ring. I'm speaking on 2 subjects today. The first, I'm wearing a hat that says Disabled in Action. I am representing that organization. When you came in the building this morning, you might have seen us protesting a little. We'd like you to settle the case so that you maintain the elevators on the manufacturer's schedule so people with disabilities can go and come from work. In the last meeting, the police was speaking, and many times they talked about the perception of safety and everyone's feelings. If you were to maintain the elevators regularly, people who need them would feel better about taking them. They'd feel like they can get to work and get back home because they'd be less likely to break down when they want to get home. I don't know what the fight is about, but we've got to get those elevators maintained on a schedule. I'll take off that hat and speak as co-chair of the Accessible Transit Advisory Committee. I would like to talk about congestion pricing. I lived in Brooklyn my whole life. I grew up in Sheepshead Bay. I live in Park Slope. For 35 years of my life, I owned a car. I would like to challenge my neighbors and my family and everyone I know that lives in Brooklyn and the whole city. Look at your calendar. How many times in the month of January would you have driven into Manhattan? I could do that, and it doesn't happen that much. A lot of my friends think that their hair's on fire and they're freaking out over this congestion pricing. I'd like people to start doing the math. It's not going to cost most regular people a lot of money. I drove into Lower Manhattan now and then, once every other month, once a month. It's not going to change my life if I had to pay that toll. Now, I need that congestion pricing money to get the mass transit system accessible. People need that money to get the elevators installed. We need the capital funding. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we need. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Jessica Speio, followed by Vincent Badulla.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jessica Speio. I am the Administrative Assistant at the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee, PCAC. I am here today to advocate for better bus service around the 5 boroughs, especially in subway deserts. As a frequent Brooklyn bus rider on both local and express buses, I've witnessed firsthand the challenges that many commuters face due to insufficient bus service, inefficient routes, and unreliable schedules, not to mention plain old traffic. That's why we're looking forward to the improvements coming to Queens and Brooklyn through the ongoing bus network redesigns. We're calling on the city to do their part by expanding bus lanes and busways. Traffic congestion often leads to delays, causing buses to fall behind schedule and making commuting a frustrating experience for riders. By installing dedicated bus lanes and busways along key routes and ensuring their proper enforcement through Eale and ACE, we can significantly enhance the efficiency and reliability of bus service. When weekend GOs happen, so critical work can take place on subways, it's imperative that reliable bus service, including shuttle buses, gets riders where they need to go. We hope the MTA will take proactive measures to minimize canceled bus trips, especially as congestion pricing goes into effect, so drivers can get out of cars and onto transit. Lastly, with the recent uptake in incidents occurring on the subways and against transit workers, safety should continue to be a priority. If we want to create a more efficient, accessible, and equitable system that meets the needs of all residents, we need the state, city, NYPD, and all the partner agencies to continue their efforts to keep our system and riders safe. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Vincent Badulla, followed by David Kupferberg.
Good morning. My name is Vincent Badulla, and I'm a vision teacher with the New York City Public School System and a member of the UFT and a chapter leader. And I am talking about the MTA and its discriminatory policies with persons who have a service animal. And I have a service animal, and I saw a big difference from when I was forced off of the on-demand program, phase 1. So for 6 years, from 2017 to August, I was relying mostly on on-demand, if not all. And I experienced very few opportunities where my service animal was made fun of, called a dirty animal. Why is there a dirty animal in my car? I usually got drivers who spoke English. Now I'm relying on traditional service. I'm getting drivers who speak less English and ridicule my dog. And in one instance, I was denied access. So this is, to me, discrimination at its worst. And I don't know if any of you have ever been denied access to a vehicle. I don't think anybody gets denied a bus or a train. And if I were to being given on-demand program, and I'm hoping a phase 3 would be affordable so that I can go back to using on-demand. Now, I did ask Chris, and I asked the folks who work for Chris about this, and they said, "Oh, my account is notated," and especially the carriers should know that I have a service animal. Many times on the broker service, I come to the vehicle and they don't know that I have a service animal. They ask me, why do I have an animal? And then they continue to tell me how my dog is going to dirty their vehicle. And in some instances, in one instance, actually, a member actually didn't want me to come in. So to me, it's not about not being able to share rides. It's about having the funding. They can do it when they want to, but the policy is they won't go against that, and sometimes there'll be shared rides. They can't guarantee it, and it's causing discrimination. So until I'm on phase 3 and a better on demand where I can afford it, then I'm going to be forced to
Please conclude your remarks.
And I'm hoping that they would consider this if I'm using traditional service animal.
Our next speaker is David Kupferberg, followed by John Padula.
David Kupferberg, Vice President of Bus Advocacy, Passengers United, a nonprofit transit advocacy group, 501c3 status pending. The Q44 SBS was proposed to be extended in the Queens Bus Network redesign new draft plan to Fordham Plaza. This extension would be a boon for Eastern Queens riders who currently have to travel to Educational Mile in the Bronx. Unfortunately, there are a significant amount of times when the dispatchers force the bus operators to take their layover at Hugh Grant Circle instead of the Bronx Zoo in order to maintain service integrity. The MTA must not be allowed to throw in the towel on the Q44 SBS Fordham Plaza extension. Such an extension would be cheaper in the long run. It would add 7 to 10 minutes in each direction. The service planners must analyze service between each time point, identify the choke points, and find a remedy. At last month's meeting, I asked for a current route to be extended into Manhattan via the Queens Midtown Tunnel as part of the redesign. I now think otherwise because that route would serve less of Long Island City, discouraging ridership. There should be a new route. I'll call it the Q90. In Manhattan, the Q90 would serve NYU Langone Medical Center, Bellevue Hospital, and Manhattan VA Hospital. Hence, the B62 should have no route changes in Queens. The Q104 in the proposed final plan would connect with the N and W trains at the Broadway subway station. The station is not ADA compliant and would not be ADA compliant in the near future. This is unacceptable. The people of Roosevelt Island want their connections to Queensboro Plaza Station, soon to be ADA compliant, and Queens Plaza Station, currently ADA compliant, maintained. An extension of the proposed Q105 to Roosevelt Island is a perfect fit. My Q105 would serve Roosevelt Island, ADA compliant subway stations, and better serve Western Queens. Roosevelt Island riders for the Queens Center Mall could use the subway. We must all work together to have better bus service for Queens. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Padula, followed by Robert Whitaker.
Good morning, folks. My name is John Padula. I'm a supervisor with Educational Vision Services from New York City Public Schools. I'm also the newly elected chair of the Advisory Committee for Transit Accessibility. Last month, we heard two great presentations, a lot of exciting initiatives in terms of accessibility that truly does go beyond elevators and escalators. Chris P. assured us that Accessor will make it out of the Stone Age and join modern day operations with some new software. I hope that RFP actually gets published this spring and that we do get new scheduling and dispatch software. Q also mentioned a lot of broader initiatives dealing with newer subway cars, newer buses, meaningful audible and visual announcements. And look, I come here every month, and whether I'm screaming about the insufferable archaic nature of Accessor or I'm talking about a meaningful phase 3 that actually gives somebody spontaneous access to a distance beyond 3 miles, or if I'm irate over the overwhelming amount of unannounced announcements on buses and subways, I realize the bottom line is funding, right? It always comes down to the bottom line. But I can't talk about congestion pricing right now because I'm a civil servant working for the Department of Education in the New York City Public Schools, and unfortunately it has become political. So I'll save my comments and my opinions on that for after hours. But I'll just say quickly, transparency breeds trust, and people have to know a clear, succinct message, and people on both sides of the table have to know what they're getting, and they also have to know what they're paying for, and they have to know what they're paying for. So I'm just going to leave well enough alone. I'm going to leave it there for now. Rich, hopefully we see that RFP this spring, right? Thanks, guys.
Our next speaker is Robert Whitaker, followed by Maddie Buck Highland.
Hi, good morning. President Davey, Chairman Holsis, and members of the committee. My name is Robert Whitaker. I'm a local 100 bus operator out of Brooklyn. I live and work out of Brooklyn, and I also represent parts of the committee of Brooklyn. I'm here to discuss two things that are right now here. Bus operator safety. I know of recent days that you have taken out the report of showing how your employees on buses and subways are getting assaulted and harassed. I ask that you restore that immediately so the public knows really what's going on, not just in subways. As far as Brooklyn buses, the bus operators are being finger pointed on your social media team as the reasons for the service cutbacks or buses that are missing trips. Please explain to us whether it's a true equipment problem or that you don't have enough people, which is all managed by management. Please stop blaming the bus operators for the issues of management. I would also kindly ask that we go back and rework at the EEO and workplace violence policies that are still not good, and they're only slanted one way, against the bus operator and against your employees. I would also kindly ask that you have police do more checking on the buses, especially in Southern Brooklyn, where it seems like you get absolutely no police presence. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Maddie Buck Highland, followed by Tasha Larrab Bor.
Morning, everybody. My name is Maddie Buck, East Highland. For today's topic, I'm going to speak about transit safety. Well, crime is up in New York, on the subways. I do applaud the police chief and his officers, and to salute them for doing a great job on the subways and on the platforms. This is not the Jerry Springer show, ladies and gentlemen. This is real life. When you see a crime, it's important to it's to law enforcement. We can't have people have to know that if they do something offensible, this will not be tolerated and you will be going to jail if you get it. That's all. For second thing is about the congestion pricing disability exemption, which I support that. Although I do oppose the price of congested pricing. Anyway, that's all I will have to say for this month. God bless you all. Have a great day. Back over to you.
Our next speaker will be Tasha Larrab Bor, followed by Sharon McLennan Weir.
Good morning. My name is Tasha Larrab Bor. I'm a transportation and voting organizer for Sydney. I'm here to talk about, once again, Accessor ride, and to bring up, again, the situation in terms of the app, my MTA app, and consumers not getting informed of when their driver arrives. I have had multiple incidents. I've heard of other stories, people who do not see on the app when their driver is arriving, who their driver is, the vehicle number, nothing. Only to get a phone call, if you're lucky, from the driver. Also witnessed incidents where the driver arrived, but the picture on the vehicle does not match the driver. So that's something that's very concerning to me. So as I have said multiple times in the past, and if I have to repeat it again, I will, please try to figure out what to do with the app and the safety of the consumers, because that is something that is of very huge importance. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Sharon McLennan Weir, followed by Ian Matthews.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Shar McLennan Weir. I'm the Executive Director for the Center for Independence of the Disabled, New York, Sydney. I'm here to talk about congestion pricing. I want to ensure that all people with disabilities have universal access to the subways. When we talk about universal access, this means elevators. This means the opportunity for anyone, despite their disability status, to go to work, to go to school, to go on a date, to go to church, to do whatever they need to do as a New Yorker. This means that we need to ensure that the subways and the access to elevators are paid for. You have proposed congestion pricing, which we agree with. However, we want to make sure that the mandate in the law states that people with disabilities are not going to have a hardship in having to pay for congestion pricing. We should make sure that all disabled people, may they drive using their license plate or their placard or whatever status of disability that they have, and they shouldn't have to pay for congestion pricing. We want congestion pricing to be successful, and we understand that every single person that takes the subway bus system in New York City will benefit from universal access. So, people with disabilities do not have to have a double hardship. And also, we should not put together a system that makes one disability status valuable versus another. We understand that people with a disability, some people may be able to drive and have license plates. We also understand that some people cannot drive, and they may need other people to transport them from place to place. This means that they may take one or two cars to transport them from place to place. They should not be at a hardship. We support congestion pricing as long as the money is actually going to be used for accessibility. This is what you stated, and we're here to make sure that you do that. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Ian Matthews, followed by Gan Ryan.
All right, good morning. My name's Ian Matthews. I'm here to talk about the 3 weekends of the 4 being down between 161, which I can understand has to be done. However, I feel extra service must be provided on the D line between 161st and Bedford, as D trains on weekends from much farther apart than 4 trains. And if that doesn't happen, then that's going to create a safety issue. Also, on the F line between 75th Avenue and 169th Street on weekends, trains need to be better protected, as we have teens breaking into about that. Also, I recommend adding. All right, that's all for the day. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gan Ryan, followed by Chris Greif.
My name is Jean. Oh, wait. Okay. My name is Gan Ryan, and I am president of Disabled in Action of Metropolitan New York, DIA for short. I am a part of a pilot program in Accessor called Eale On Demand. It is life-changing, but wheelchair users like me have problems getting our wheelchairs secured by the Uber and Lyft drivers, as well as having the drivers secure us with proper seat belts. Would you ride in a vehicle without a seatbelt? No, because it's unsafe and seatbelts are the law for everyone. But we are often forced to choose between riding unsafely or not riding at all. Drivers are supposedly trained by TLC taxi schools, but the drivers don't know what to do and do not have the proper equipment. Why? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chris Greif, followed by Jason Anthony.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christopher D. Greif, and as my fellow advocates have been talking about congestion pricing, let's remember one thing: seniors and people with disability are the one thing we need to remember that I know it's in the books, but it's not been mentioned a lot in the outside of MTA. MTA has mentioned about accessibility, and we want to make clear that the funding has to go to MTA accessibility, elevators, ramps, technology, and lighting, LD lighting. We need to make sure LD lighting is all over the transit system. Accessibility is the one thing we need to make sure that we're fully funding accessibility. And that's including our buses. We need to make sure all our buses are truly up to date, especially the reduced fare. If they have those buses, if they're not going to use those low rider buses, maybe we should turn them into reduced fare vehicles so it'll be easier for seniors and people with disabilities to can go in and sign up as well. There'll be another option, because customer service centers are excellent, but there are some people cannot get to. So let's think of funding of accessibility and let's put it in. But let's also remember, people with disabilities there are all types of disabilities from A to Z. Let's not forget that in our community, because a lot of us can go to an accessible station, the elevator could be out. How are we supposed to get there if that station is out? So let's use an example. Since Euclid Avenue is in construction right now, we have a special shuttle bus, which is the Accessor, which we thank them, to transport them to the nearest accessible station. If we can do that and make sure it's funded, to make sure elevators are being replaced and mandated, make sure they're repaired, let's get things done, folks. The congestion prices are also for seniors and people with disability, but let's also remember, reduced fare prices need to be in there as well. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jason Anthony, followed by Iris Kelly.
Good morning, Rich, Haida, Shanifa, Q, and the rest of the board. And I should not forget Demetrius, Frank, Chris P., and the rest of the Transit Committee. Jason Anthony here, the newest member of the Long Island Railroad ADA Task Force. Let's do some fact-checking about congestion pricing. This month, I testified in the New Jersey Transit Corporation's board meeting. They don't want to settle the lawsuit with us. Here's why. they're raising their fares by 15%. They're doing their public hearings in person. Here's why. They're disenfranchising a lot of people, especially those in this side of the Hudson, especially those with disabilities. So think about it, folks. And those in the media, do your homework. Please attend the New Jersey Transit Board and ask them why you guys are not settling the lawsuit with the MTA. Because guess what, folks? Due to the lawsuit, the signals are not getting monetized. We're not getting elevators and escalators done. Safety is getting back to the 70s and 80s. We're not going to have a lot of officers in trains and stations. So think about it, folks. Let's do our homework and let's get this done. I'll see you guys later.
Our next speaker is Iris Kelly, followed by Cassi Raushi.
For the Accessor ride, they say it's supposed to be easy for us to order online our trips and make it easy, but it's not that easy. Take a little longer to get into the site. And then the cutoff time for people online is not good. Okay, I understand the office ends at 5 o'clock, fine, or next day trips. But they should have the open line up until almost not quite midnight, make trips up until the next day, not have to cut over, jump over to the next day over at 5 o'clock. That is terrible. And then for the Accessor ride, we should be able to book our trips the same day, not have to worry about booking ahead of time. And second of all is the for Accessor ride having problems with the what's my thought? What was I going to say now? Shoot, I forget now. Oh, you should have to decide which bus you're on to have an emergency. Someone can come up and you tell us like, oh, this is not your second trip. That shouldn't matter. If somebody has an emergency, they should be able to help out at that time, regardless which trip you're on, first or second. It shouldn't matter. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cassi Raushi, followed by Tucker Salovera.
Good morning, Chairwoman Mahaltis, President Davey, and Transit and Bus Committee members. My name is Cassi Raushi, and I'm a member of Passengers United. I would like to address a bus stop situation located at 5th Avenue and 9th Street in Park Slope, Brooklyn. The B61 bus stop going towards Park Slope 20th Street. The bus stop is covered with a black trash bag covering the bus stop. How is a passenger supposed to know where to get the bus going towards Park Slope 20th Street? I would appreciate if someone can go to this bus stop located on 9th Street and 5th Avenue in Park Slope, Brooklyn to see what's going on, because it's extremely unacceptable for residents who live in Park Slope, Brooklyn to go pick up the B61 bus going towards Park Slope 20th Street to come and find out that the bus stop is covered with a trash bag. I understand there is construction going on 5th Avenue and 9th Street, but I feel to me that that bus stop really should not be covered with a trash bag. There's not even no sign at that bus stop saying that that's the B61 bus going towards Park Slope 20th Street. So I would appreciate if President Davey and somebody from the MTA buses or MTA board members can please go to 9th Street and 5th Avenue to see this bus stop that I'm speaking about, to see what is going on, because this is really unacceptable. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Tucker Salovera, followed by Joe Rapaport.
Good morning, all. My name is Tasha Larrab Bor, and I'm here to speak on congestion pricing. A lot of my providers live and work outside the city, and it is a great thing they won't come in. Another example is that I live on my own. On significant freedom place where the cameras are in front of my building, and if my aide's car out sick, my mom had to drive an hour away or take a train to half an hour away. And I figured enough fair because why we can't have a parking permits on disabled vehicle vehicles to be exempt. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Joe Rapaport, followed by Andy Pollock.
Good morning. I'm Joe Rapaport of the Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled. 5 years after Albany approved congestion pricing, we're finally hearing about the MTA's plan for a disability exemption, which the law requires. The bill wisely included the exemptions which our groups advocated for. Albany legislators knew that the city's transit system was and is largely inaccessible, that Accessor is a sorry excuse for decent transit, and that buses offer few interborough options. To be clear, we want congestion pricing to work. It will bring in money for the elevators and for the rest of the transit system by the literal car and truckload. As we move forward, though, I urge you to guide yourselves by several principles. First, the exemption should be accessible and easy to get for those who deserve it. Second, the MTA should not let the possibility of fraud prevent it from offering the right program. Disabled people should not be penalized because other people might want to cheat. At the same time, we do want to make the exemption is not misused, so we are willing to work with you to create a fair and reasonable program. Third, the disability community must be involved. There's a briefing tomorrow for the community, and the back and forth must continue. Finally, the MTA must be open to changing its proposals. We're pleased that you have abandoned a restrictive and easily abused initial plan, but new proposals also may need real tinkering to make them work. One other note, we're coming on the 7-year anniversary of the filing of our case on elevator maintenance, yet there's no evidence of the MTA's willingness to settle. Come on, folks. And finally, to any city officials here, a vehicle with the City of New York license plate BC3199 was parked illegally in the Accessor space in front of my building at 25 Elm Place today and has been parked illegally many times in the past. That's BC3199. Please fix this. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Andy Pollock, followed by Jessica Tambor.
Good morning, Andy Pollock from Passengers United. So I'm going to save my crime notes until the safety committee meeting later this afternoon, which I feel that's the appropriate time and place to discuss that. Today, I'm going to discuss the Kew Garden Union Turnpike Station on the EF line. I'm very happy that the stairwell finally reopened on the west side of Queens Boulevard earlier this month. So it looks like on both sides, the west side and the east side of Queens Boulevard, The tile work looks fantastic. The stairs have been replaced, which is good to see that. However, when the Omni machines come into full effect, I am requesting that more tile work should be done when the old Metro card machines get taken out. We do have a Omni machine currently at our station in Kew Gardens, but the issue is it's still not been activated yet. So we're wondering, when is that Omni machine going to be activated so people can reload their Omni cards, obviously, since we're going to be transitioning away from the Metro card. Okay, the Queens bus redesign, I'm going to quickly mention. I've been seeing signs lately on the buses in Queens, which is very good to see that. My request is please do not cut the Q8 bus. Please do not cut the Q34. And please keep the Q102 bus the way it is right now. Passengers United's been receiving a lot of complaints about the Q102 not going to the Queens Plaza station on the E, M, and R lines as proposed in the current final draft. So that's where I'm going to conclude my remarks. Once again, my crime notes are going to be discussed at the Safety Committee meeting later this afternoon. So thank you for letting me speak for now.
Our next speaker is Jessica Tambor, followed by Charlton D'Souza.
Yeah. Thank you for meeting with us today. I want to talk about Eale and Accessor. Eale should be expanded to more people, and the amount of rides we get and the amount of money we are allowed for a ride should increase. $40 a ride is not enough to get most places, and 25 rides a month is not enough for people who go somewhere almost every day. People can't afford to pay the rest out of their own money because it gets very expensive. With Accessor, I noticed a lot of the buses have been getting lately are very, very old. Last weekend, I got 2 very old white buses where the lift was rusted and the door of the lift didn't stay closed, and they had a hard time opening the door. There are new buses at the bases, but they aren't being used. We have been getting very old buses. I also had 3 other bad experiences with the supplemental service, and that has to improve. Thank you for your time.
Our final speaker is Charlton D'Souza.
All right, everyone. Good morning. So we've had 3 murders in the subway, 3. And Garrett Goebel, when he passed away, y'all all made a commitment that y'all were going to improve subway safety and that things were going to be better. Here we are in 2024, and we've had 3 murders. People are being slashed. A station agent was assaulted. What is going on in New York City Transit? So it's obvious that y'all don't care. But guess what we're going to do at Passengers United now? I'm done speaking. I'm just going to go outside elected officials' offices in this city, and I'm going to hold up a picket sign, and we're going to protest. And you know what? We're going to do that at every elected official's office until they realize that our subway system is in a state of emergency and a state of crisis. We need the National Guard brought in. Yeah, I know y'all don't like to hear that, but you know what? We've got individuals roaming the subway with guns, with weapons. Our police officers are being assaulted. MTA police officers are being assaulted. NYPD officers are being assaulted. Transit employees are being assaulted. This is an all-out crisis. We need leadership. So it's obvious y'all don't care, but the governor is going to care now, the mayor is going to care, and every state assembly and state senator is going to care because we're going to be outside the office. So NYPD, if you're listening, get ready to mobilize some police officers outside elected officials' offices. Thank you.
That concludes our public comment session for today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers. Before I entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last board meeting, there's a correction that we need to make. They identify Randy Glucksman as a staff member. He's not a staff member. We corrected it, so we identified him as a committee member and showed that he attended the meeting virtually. With that, Andrew, are there any other?
Yes, in the list of public speakers, Lisa Daglian's last name is misspelled. It should be I-A-N, not I-O-N.
Okay. With those two corrections, can I entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last committee meeting? Midori, second. Jamie, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Motion approved. Okay. Thank you. Are there any other changes to the work plan, Rich?
No changes to the work plan, Madam Chair.
Okay, so you'll start us off with the president's report?
I will. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this month's committee meeting. February is obviously a busy month for us. As you can see, New York actually experienced some snow for the first time in over 700 days. We want to talk a little bit about that and some of the other activities that the impressive work of our folks have been doing this past month. But February's definitely been a month of action as we continue to focus on our North Star goal of getting to 70% customer satisfaction by this year. So just in terms first of our winter weather response, we hadn't exercised that muscle in almost 2 years, but I am pleased to say that our team, as usual, responded tremendously. Particularly on February 12th, we experienced 4 to 8 inches of snow. Our transit team was ready and delivered virtually 100% of scheduled service during that storm. From chaining buses and deploying snow fighting vehicles, the Department of Buses kept service running smoothly. And subways, our crews were out early and often, preparing stations by salting and sanding our stairwells and our platforms to keep our customers safe. They are also laser focused on subway operations, particularly in the elevated portions of track that tend to be more vulnerable to weather events. By smartly deploying tools like our de-icer train, we were able to weather the storm and move nearly 2 million New Yorkers on the subway that day. We also made a bit of history this month. Let's go back. Talk about the history. Which is introducing the new R211 trains, the so-called open gangway trains, the first open gangway trains in the United States. Our friends in Canada do have a couple, so we were corrected. We are not the first in North America, but certainly the first in the United States on the Sea Line on February 1st. The R211s have a number of important features, not only open gangway itself, but better seating for our customers with disabilities, for example, better mappage and signage, for example. And as you can see, Governor Hochul joined us and the team to celebrate that release of service. Not to be outdone, we continue to roll into high gear the remaining of our R211s on the A line. We had a gearbox issue a few months ago. That has been addressed. We are now up to 9 R211s that have been rolled out on the A, which is a huge win for our customers as we continue to retire our AARP R46 trains. And we hope to roll those, continue to roll those out now about twice, 2 cars a month. Not to be outdone, bus is also rising in customer satisfaction. As you can see, in January, we saw an increase of 5% to 65% of our customers saying they're satisfied or very satisfied. A number of areas where we have seen improvements for sure. Across customer journey time, as you can see, we're seeing increased speeds, in particular travel time improvements in the Bronx and Manhattan. We continue to be very bullish that in a couple of months, once we roll out ACE, our automated camera enforcement, across a number of our lines, that we will see improvements. Our customers will see improvements as well. And paratransit, I know, as I often say, for those who have testified earlier, we do not deny your experience that we could do better, and we certainly acknowledge that. But kudos to Chris and the team. We recorded a record high customer satisfaction in January. 79% of our customers said they were satisfied or very satisfied. Why? No-show rates are down. We're also growing ridership. We're booking faster with our phones. And our 20-minute on-time performance, now our new standard, it used to be 30 as you recall, we're exceeding 90%. Again, work to do. Chris and team have a lot on their plate to get done. That RFP that was mentioned earlier, someone said the spring. I'm hoping late winter, not the spring. So we have some work to do to improve paratransit for sure. And obviously coming back to this committee and the board later this year on what a potential phase 3 would look like for Eale as well. I had the opportunity to go to Washington. Mr. Chips, Mr. Davey goes to Washington with a number of transit executives to meet at the White House to talk about securing our zero-emission future. We have often talked at this committee and the board about the need for the capacity for American manufacturing for electric buses. This is a challenge right now for the entire industry. One of our current vendors, Nova, is leaving the U.S. market, going back to Canada. Proterra, another potential vendor, has entered into bankruptcy, reorganization, and so it's critically important. So the conversation centered around a number of things the transit industry could do to help bolster American manufacturing. Frank and team are leading the way, for example, on looking at our specifications to see are there opportunities for us to de-spec, if you will, or look hard at ways for us to potentially join our specifications with some of the larger agencies in the United States. I was told, for example, New Flyer, I think, has like 97 shades of white paint, as an example, to cater to all its customers across the United States. I didn't know there were 98 shades of white paint, by the way. But opportunities for us to see if we can lower their costs and improve manufacturing in the U.S. So something we're passionate about. LED lights were mentioned. This is Demetrius behind a full crowd of folks responsible for LED lights, which we're now going to convert in all of our stations. Why is this important? Well, first, it's actually one of our fiscal baseline reset targets. It saves us money. We generate less energy to obviously to power those lights, but also it is a brighter station and frankly one that helps with clearer pictures for the cameras we have in our stations. Chief Kemper will no doubt talk about that in a moment. So making sure that not only is the system safer, but also we're being more cost effective in how we're rolling that out. And speaking of customer safety, our low tech but quick implementation of platform barriers. We have talked at this committee and the board, certainly before I got here, about the need to look at the platform screen doors, which are expensive. They haven't been tried out here in New York, and certainly I think a number of our stations would be very difficult to retrofit. So we said, well, what other solutions are potentially out there? And so kudos to Demetrius and the Subways team for coming up with this low-tech but fairly clever way to give our customers more protection, if you will. And that doesn't necessarily mean pushing. We've seen a couple of those tragic incidents, but we often see folks stumbling into trains, maybe after a heavy night out, for example, or folks who might have a medical episode as well on our platforms. And so giving folks the opportunity to stand around and behind these barriers to feel safer in our system is critically important as well. Lastly, I do want to mention, we'll talk about employee safety here, and also I think Pat Warren will be discussing it at the Safety Committee. We continue to look at ways to improve our employee safety. And this past weekend, we rolled out bollards. I think, Demetrius, you wanted to maybe talk a little bit about that, but these bollards to help conductor safety. But Demetrius, you want to say a few words about this?
Yeah, sure. We started a pilot in 2023 following the assault of some of our conductors. We selected 125th Street location because it was one of our more problematic areas for assaults. And so we first started with the decal on the floor, monitored it for a while, and noticed that customers, with time, when it first went out, customers were observant, but with time, didn't observe the area, didn't stand outside the area. So we wanted to do something to make it a little more bright, a little more evident for customers that we'd like for them to stand clear of the area, but at the same time providing access to a conductor if a person does have a question or a need. So you're still able to access the conductor. In all, this ingenuitive way of providing protection for the conductors costs us less than $3,500 to install. We'll monitor it and then look and see if if we have any suggestions that we can tailor it to and look at whether or not there are any issues with the install of it.
Dimitri, it's only at 125th? Or?
Right now, just at 125th.
Okay.
Which one? On Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would just say, obviously, a customer, if they wish to get around these, they certainly can. But it does tip off the customer, I would say, I should say the conductor, that there is a person who's already disobeying a rule. It says don't stand there. If they're pulling in a station and they do see someone standing there, they'll be, our expectation is on extra alert for that person and why they're there. We'll get feedback from obviously our conductors as well.
Midori has a question.
Great. So Rich, thank you, Demetrius. It sounds like it looks like you're deploying a variety of kind of products out there in the space. And you had said, upon observation, we saw this and that. What are like the data collecting mechanisms so you really understand if this thing is successful or not? And that applies to, the changes you're doing around fare evasion and these kind of the yellow gates and this. It just seems like there's a lot of new products out there, but I also want to make sure whatever we're piloting, we're getting real data to be able to understand its effectiveness.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a few sort of data points. Obviously, going back to our customer satisfaction survey on a monthly basis, we'll be able to get customer feedback there, for example. For the stations where we put the platform barriers up, we also have cameras on those platforms as well, so we'll be able to observe customer behavior, for example. Frankly, we've already heard from some elected officials, when do I get my barriers? So it's interesting. I think that this is something that folks are interested in seeing. But as you said, we have to watch that. And clearly, we can only put those on platforms where we have a uniform car classification, because the doors obviously would be in different locations. On this one here, what we'll do is obviously monitor employee assaults or harassments, but specifically, we'll talk to the crews on the Lex line and see, is this helping? Is this working? It'll be important to get our employee feedback from this one.
So understand employee feedback, customer satisfaction survey, but I think it'd be great to develop some metrics because it sounds you have this kind of product to change a certain kind of behavior. You have another product to change fare evasion behavior. So getting real metrics to the board about, okay, this is a pilot that we did at these stations. This is what we saw in terms of success. This was the return on investment. That would be helpful for us.
Yeah, I mean, measuring behaviors, can be a little hard in terms of getting hard metrics and data, but I think that's the ultimate question is, do we see behavior patterns and changes? And then with our customers in particular, do folks, are they utilizing those barriers and do they feel safer?
And maybe getting an expert on, behavioral economics, folks that really understand how to change behavior using nudges. That's kind of a field of practice that has been growing. I think making sure that you're getting those resources as well, because Demetrius, you run a transportation network. You're not necessarily going to be, no disrespect, like the top mind on behavior change, and want to make sure that we're using the latest in terms of science.
Just to be clear, Demetrius is the top mind in the system, but I agree. We could always use
I agree too.
external help.
I take it back.
Good
Thank
point.
you.
Good point. Andrew, you had a question.
Rich, the additional rollout of R211s on the A line, is that being equally divided between Ozone Park and Far Rockaway? Do you know?
I'll maybe leave that to D to describe. I'm not sure how we're distributing it, but
I'd have to get back to you.
yeah.
Thank you.
And Chair, before I kick it to Demetrius to give a short presentation on subway track maintenance, which has been really some awesome work that the subways team is doing, I do want to address a few of these high-profile incidents that have occurred. I know the chief is going to speak about it in a moment as well. Obviously, we had 2 fatal shootings in the subway system in the Bronx this month, both related to gun violence, which is completely unacceptable. There are too many guns in our city and in our system. I think the chief will talk about some of the gun arrests that his team have successfully made in these past now 2 months. I am grateful for the work that the safety team, Pat Warren's team, and the subways team is doing for cameras. I have said it once, I will say it again. We have more cameras than a Las Vegas casino in this system. We have 3 clear pictures of the perpetrators who we believe shot and killed that man on our train because we had cameras on our trains. If you do something bad in our system, we will find you. We will find you. I also want to address this question of employee safety. I am incredibly privileged to lead an organization of 47,000 men and women here at New York City Transit, and I believe that there's no more important thing for me to do than to keep them safe. No one in our organization should come to work feeling like they'll be assaulted just because they're doing their job, okay? Just because they're doing their job. Station agents, cleaners, bus operators, others who are on the front line moving moving transit, moving our customers. I spoke to the station agent who was assaulted at Wall Street over the weekend. I talked to a cleaner who was assaulted over the weekend to see how he was doing. I mean, all I can say is, and by the way, that cleaner, there were 2 cops in that station who was immediately arrested, the perpetrator. So thank you, Chief, on that. But here is my observation. We've had at least 7 assaults this year of our employees. 4 perpetrators have been arrested. Among them, they have 50 arrests, prior arrests, that I can speak of, that I know of. My plea is to the justice system to make sure that when these arrests are made, that appropriate justice is delivered to those individuals. And I'm not talking about folks who might make a mistake in life, 3 strikes and you're out, but 50 strikes seems like a lot of goddamn strikes. And I have to say that, we've got to do something to keep our people safe. We are working closely with the TWU in that regard, looking at, as we talked about the platform barriers earlier, other ways to keep our employees safe. We're piloting, we hope very soon, with the e-mirrors, the cockpits for our bus operators. But this is something that keeps me, and I know Demetrius and Frank and the team up at night. How can we protect our people? Because all they're doing is their job. I do want to thank the chief and his team, by the way, who are also subject to some of these assaults, for everything that they do to help keep our employees safe. And, we will continue to work with NYPD Transit to create a safe environment for our customers and our employees. With that, I'll maybe kick it over to Demetrius to talk a little bit about some of the track maintenance good stuff that the subways team did this year. If we need a minute, Matt, I suggest we go to Chief Kemper then?
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to do.
Yeah, thank you.
Chief, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. If you can just update us on everything that's going on.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Good morning to all, Chair Mihalsis, President Davey, and to all the members of the board. Let me start by saying that January was a challenging month for us here in the Transit Bureau. The subway system experienced an increase in index crimes from 152 in 2023 to 221 in 2024, representing a 45.4% increase. Grand larcenies, or theft of property without force, continued to be the main driver, accounting for over 50% of all crime in the month of January. That was both concerning and unacceptable. In response, Mayor Adams, along with Police Commissioner Caban, has directed and authorized and deployed an additional upwards of over 1,000 uniform officers into the transit system every day since the beginning of this month, February. This surge in additional officers is a similar strategy to how we reversed the crime trend last year. These cops are out there and highly visible, stationed at turnstiles, on mezzanines and platforms, and riding the trains. And it seems that this tremendous investment is immediately paying dividends, with the first 3 weeks of February already showing a decrease in crime by 17.7% compared to February last year, from 158 crimes down to 130. This brings our current year-to-date numbers down from the high of 45% in the end of January to where we are right now, presently, January 1st up until today, up 13.2% in the subway system. This is progress. This is progress we look forward to continuing with. All categories of enforcement are up at or near historic highs this year to date. Arrests are up by 45%, with over 2,900 made for crimes within the transit system. And TABS summonses are up by 22.6%, with nearly 30,000 issued. We've continued our emphasis and focus on fare evasion enforcement, with over 21,000 fare evasion contacts already this year. We've recovered 17 guns, which is almost triple the number we recovered last year to date, and made over 250 arrests for other weapons in the system. That's a 44.4% increase versus last year. Make no mistake, public safety is our top priority, and your cops are working hard and doing incredible work, confronting lawlessness head-on. Speaking of investments, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the importance of the MTA's investment in video surveillance throughout the system. The number of cameras and stations on platforms and mezzanines, plus the increasing number of cameras in train cars, has served as a deterrent to crime and proved to be a great investigative tool that we regularly use. As a matter of fact, video obtained from the Mount Eden subway station played a key role in the investigation into the shooting incident that occurred there early this month, directly contributing to a quick arrest. Additionally, video recovered from the new interior train cameras has been critical in the rapid identification of perpetrators from last week's shooting in the Bronx, and I am confident that apprehensions will be made in short order, or maybe apprehensions were just made. We'll talk about that after. But while enforcement is up across the board, we find ourselves, and that was as we're sitting here. But while enforcement is up across the board, we find ourselves far too often arresting the same individuals over and over and over again. I am not shy. I speak about this all the time. We are routinely arresting recidivist career criminals who are committing crimes and daring to prey on our law-abiding ridership. People with dozens of prior arrests, sometimes even well over 100 prior arrests, yet somehow they are back out and back in the subway system sometime within hours, committing more crimes. Let me give you an example. Earlier this month in the Bronx, plainclothes cops were riding a 4 train when they caught a man red-handed cutting the pockets of a sleeping passenger and stealing his wallet and cell phone. This occurred at about 5 o'clock in the morning. Your cops are working. Right place and right time, all part of our deployment plan, and they arrest the guy. A guy committing the exact crime that is responsible for 50% of crime in the subway system, and a tough arrest to make. One that should be treated seriously. It's a felony, and it's a felony for a reason. This arrest marked his 55th career arrest that I could speak of, his 22nd in just the past 12 months, his 5th arrest this year already, and his 3rd arrest for grand larceny felony in the past 2 months. And yet, he was out, roaming the subway system, victimizing more riders. We are only one part of the multi-layered criminal justice system at the NYPD. We may be the most visible, but once we make the arrest, we hand the case over to the rest of the criminal justice system. And we must ask, what happens next? Why are we forced to arrest a guy like this 55 times? There needs to be consequences. For without accountability and consequences, there is no deterring people from committing more crimes. And look, when talking about accountability and access, well, here I am. The NYPD is always front and center, and we take great pride in that. But let's not forget there are many other stakeholders in the business of public safety. Despite this, our cops remain hyper-focused on the task at hand and committed to ensuring public safety. We are a dynamic agency, adapting to any challenge, as proven by the past few weeks. This trend will continue, and we will capitalize on this momentum as we move forward. Thank you very much.
So, thank you, Chief, and please thank Mayor Adams and Police Commissioner Caban for giving us the 1,000 new police officers. Just a question, and I actually agree with you, because, you know, you put 1,000 more cops, you catch these guys, but, you know, they're right back on the street, unfortunately, hours later. How long are we going to have all these police on our system? Or, I don't know if you can answer that.
So this increase in personnel
Yes.
Started the beginning of the month.
Mhm.
There are no plans, as I sit here right now, to reduce that, only to continue.
Good. So thank you again for that
Yes.
wonderful commitment. Any questions for Chief? Andrew?
No, I just think it's terrific that the camera expansion is happening so rapidly. The pictures of the perps from 182nd and 183rd Street were on our 68 cars, so it's not even just the newest cars, it's cars going back almost to the oldest cars. President Davey has said will have camera action by the end of this year. And that is great news. You're not going to get away with it, and your picture's going to be everywhere. And some of these pictures are really high definition, so there's no question.
Yeah, I agree with you. I speak about the value of the surveillance cameras in the subway system a lot. To say I was excited when I found out there was a camera on that train is an understatement, because I just knew how valuable that would be to this case moving forward. I just knew how that was going to contribute to offering justice to that victim's family. Total agreement. And look, we say this a lot. I said this the other day. I say this all the time. It just amazes me. People just don't understand the value and just how vast and expansive the video system is in the subway system. Message got to get out. If you come into the subway system and you're thinking you're could have committed a crime, well, prepare to be identified and arrested. That should be the message.
And not only that, but you may recall about 2 years ago, we actually, thanks to the cameras in the subway stations, we actually caught the Central Park rapist who had run down into the 5th Avenue and 59th Street station after committing some heinous acts in the park, and they caught him from those pictures.
So I could speak of countless ways and examples, not only focused on subway crime, how those cameras are used, and not only just for crime. We use the cameras to look for missing children. We use those cameras to give us answers to questions that we have. Sometimes rumors are out or questions come our way. What happened? We use those cameras for so many different reasons.
Are we showing, someone showing that? No, Chief, you're right. I mean, the MTA is doing our part with the governor and putting the cameras. You guys, NYPD is doing their part. We need the others to step up and do their part. Chief, are you showing us these Crime Stopper videos, or is that somebody else?
Well, I could speak about it. So what we're looking at right now is the train from Friday in the Bronx, where that tragic homicide occurred, and that just gives you an idea of the quality of the video that's on the exterior of the train, what it offers us, and there are multiple different angles also on the train videos, which is important to know. And again, the entire incident that occurred on Friday, the entire incident from beginning to end was captured on cameras that were on the train, and then post into the subway station, and then post street level with August cameras.
Thank you. All right, are we moving on?
I think so. Are we ready for track maintenance or no? We keep moving? Not?
All right, keep going.
All right, we'll keep going. Let's move maybe to a higher note, which is our 10 Transit All-Stars for the month. I want to recognize 10 employees who are moving us forward in our goal to meet 70% customer satisfaction. They're making a difference. First, we have Joe DePace. Where's Joe? Right over there. We go. Valued and key contributor in our subway's maintenance of way track subdivision. See, we were going to show the track video, but you showed up, so you're more impressive. Responsible for coordinating our overnight service shutdowns to allow for system construction when we get a lot of work done. Joseph also manages the unit's overnight emergency response team to ensure availability of morning peak service. We have more challenges than you know about because him and his team are out fixing them before morning rush hour. So, Joe, thank you. Congratulations. I'll give him a round of applause. William Wong, a software engineer in our Buses and Technology Zero Buses division, who contributes to making strides to improve our bus data collection. Speaking of data collection, Midori, we look, and analyze to look to see how we're doing in terms of our bus operations. He's known as an incredibly warm person and, quote, a pleasure to work alongside. He's taken a pivotal role in leading our Swiftly pilot project, which aims to enhance real-life customer information, real-time customer information. We're not quite ready to talk about that prime time, but it's all about improving the quality of data for our bus customers. So, William, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Yogesh Patel. He's our buses director of new qualifications and testing. Yogesh Gesh and the team's contribution to improving bus operator visibility by successfully implementing testing of new technology to improve bus operator safety and reducing our collisions using e-mirrors. We've talked about this. The e-mirror is in fact using camera technology positioned of the bus to display nearby surroundings to drivers in a digital screen, and eliminating the traditional side view mirrors that are often vandalized and cause a quarter of our collisions at New York City Transit. This will not only improve overall safety, but can potentially reduce maintenance and increase service reliability by eliminating the need to pull buses out of service when we have broken or missing mirrors, and this will be an important part of keeping our bus operators safe. Yogesh, congratulations. Contract management manager, Jason Yee. Jason has worked hard and dedicated, is the driving force behind Paratransit's taxi reimbursements team's productivity, which recently reduced payment processing from 60 days to 10 days. That has to be an MTA record, and garnered him great respect and appreciation from his peers. Jason, congratulations. Dennis Lynch, he's also a contract manager at Paratransit. He's an all-star because of his demonstrated commitment to customer service, teamwork, and leadership. He's known as an outside-the-box thinker, plays an integral role in monitoring and ensuring that our Paratransit's dedicated carrier vendors are in compliance. Dennis, thank you very much. Min Tran is a bus scheduler manager in our operations planning department. Currently manages schedules for the Casey Stengel Depot in Queens. That includes 15 bus routes. I'm sure Andrew has them memorized. And 615 bus operators. At minimums, he successfully drives our 4 picks a year, which is not easy. Always willing to help others and is really admired by his colleagues. So congratulations, Min. Carl Persaud. Carl is the bus assistant chief maintenance officer, is an all-star for his success in overseeing the retrofitting of the cockpit doors and express buses. Again, a theme around our employee safety. Carl and his team quickly created a design with vendors that would protect our operators from direct contact with individuals, while also ensuring that the driver has the ability to have a positive engagement with our customers. He's an invaluable asset to the organization. Carl, thank you very much. Anthony Amoroso is the director of MTA bus schedules, also in OP, our operations planning. He is currently responsible for developing schedules for bus routes that operate out of both College Point and LaGuardia depots, 2 of the largest bus depots within our network. He also has been a significant contributor to our Queens and Brooklyn bus redesign projects, as you all know, both currently in their draft stages. Anthony, thank you very much. 2 more. We want to honor Jeannie Davis. She's a senior director, I should say, in the Department of Subways, part of the Internal Controls and Audit Unit. She's the point of contact for internal, external investigative agencies. She missed us so much, she left and came back. Correct. So she's brought efficiencies and cost savings, and she's a delight to be part of the team. Jeannie, congratulations. And last but not least, we have General Superintendent of Facilities, Burra Mark. Burm is the subject matter expert for fire suppression systems, obviously critical, and is currently overseeing life safety equipment throughout New York City Transit, as well as its Subway's Operations Control Center, leading by example and fostering a positive relationship for all who know him. Congratulations as well. So that concludes my report, Chair, but we'll do a picture after with our all-stars.
Yes.
But again,
I'm
congratulations.
looking for the photographer. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone, for your hard work. Demetrius, are we ready for you, or are we going to queue? What are we doing? We're good for Demetrius? All right, thumbs up. Okay, back to Demetrius.
So thank you. Over the next couple minutes, we'll talk a little bit about our track panel work and how that is a central piece in improvements that we're making the system more safe, more reliable for our customers. So first, let's start off with what is track panel installation? Essentially, we remove a segment of track, roughly 39 feet. So to give you perspective, it's roughly the size of this table here. We remove that track, and we put in another section of track that size. That includes everything from our tracks, our fiber walk, the rails, the ties, all of that is being removed in one segment. Just to give you perspective, it's 15,000 pounds of weight that's being removed in that instance, one panel. So imagine an elephant or 2 that's being lifted into place for one panel swing. So But before we get into the presentation, I can't help but thank the individuals who have done an amazing job of doing this work. The Maintenance Away team as a whole has been fantastic and shepherded by Dom Gallo, who is the Vice President of Maintenance Away, and the Chief Officer, Frank Farrell. Just fantastic work by that team. Yeah, you could give it a hand. All right.
It's only elevated, it's not in the subway as well?
Just elevated, yep. All right, so for track construction, I can never get tired of talking about the employees that I have here. Just fantastic work they do as a team. Just to give you an idea, last year we set for 2023 the goal of doing 668 panels, which in itself was a stepping stone from where we were the year prior. So we knew that we created an ambitious goal, knowing that the 15-year high of doing track panels or track panel removal had been 700 panels. That's removing 700 panels for the year. So we said, all right, well, we're going to go just below the 15-year high. That's going to be our target. And this amazing team did 820 panels for 2023. Not just beating it, but by a long shot. Now, how was this accomplished? Previously, we did one panel a day. So one panel a day. That includes removing the track from service, removing power, getting the work train on site, arranging for the street crane, removing bridge clips and contact rails, cutting the existing walkway, using torch to cut the rail, and then for a pre-assembled section to be placed into place. That doesn't consider the amount of design work that goes in advance into planning this specific panel job that's going to have to go into place. So the increase was achieved because the team looked at opportunities where these GOs could be done more efficiently. Where ridership was supportive, they requested a 1-hour extension to a GO. So where ridership supported it, they requested for 1 hour extension to GO. That 1 hour longer GO allowed for the team to double the amount of efficiency that they did. 2 panels and sometimes 3 panels to be done within the same distance, within the same area.
So is that 6 elephants? Is that? I'm just trying to do the elephant to math, the panel math. Yeah, it's pretty significant.
It depends. Yeah. It's enormous in amount, right? So once that efficiency was proven, now we said we used to do it mostly on weekends. So now we're going to transition to doing more of these panel jobs during the week. So that change made a huge difference in what we could accomplish. Now, to get that efficiency, to get that extra production, we did not sacrifice safety. What we did was on elevated panel projects, we assigned a safety officer who monitors all the safe work practices during the project. We took into consideration emergency egress, for examples like the Belt Parkway project where we had to shut that down. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the presentation. Also looked into fall protection harnesses for when they're necessary, and also working with our sister agencies like DOT and NYPD to ensure lane closures occurred appropriately so that civilians also weren't in risk of being injured. Safety is important, not just our employees, our customers, and also pedestrians was important as well. So now, the track panel installation over the Belt Parkway, it required us to do, it was an amazing task. I mean, if you could imagine shutting down the Belt Parkway, that's essentially what we did. Many times you'll see that for elevated work, we try to do it sunrise to sunset. In this case, because the Belt Parkway is such a major thoroughfare through New York, we had to do the shutdown specifically at night to do the work directly over. So what we would do for the Belt Parkway was we would close off several lanes of the Belt Parkway, sometimes 5-6 lanes shut down, and a complete shutdown for certain portions of it, so that we could swing these panels into place. You could imagine the daily coordination as they remove these panels, remove the tracks from service, and then coordinating to allow for the traffic diversions to continue, to come back, to allow for cars to start operating again on the Belt Parkway. And all of that was done because of strategic work between NYPD traffic and a engineering team, Campbell Engineering, that helped to work with this system. All right. So thanks to diligence and attention to safety measures, we had 0 accidents while doing this work. That in itself is a huge feat, doing a new project, big project, more efficiently, and not have 1 accident during that time period. We did extensive work. As you can see, that place is lit up like it's daytime. They spent an amount of effort in advance talking about what lighting would be necessary in order to light up the area, what would be deemed safe. This was truly a collaborative effort. The union was involved. They discussed it. We talked to workers so that they felt comfortable. We had a work plan that was set up with not just 1 union, not 2 unions, but 4 different unions that all were working in the same area. We worked with Bay Crane, who positioned the cranes below so that they would be prepared to pick this, and also to coordinate with DOT on traffic conditions that happened below. We talked with buses as they were impacted. All of these issues were addressed prior to the work being moved forward. For the Canarsie line, we did a total of 67 panels in 2023. This area was selected as a priority for panel replacement because a large segment of track had met or surpassed its useful life and multiple high failure clusters within the line. So given that Canarsie has CBTC, when there are issues, the issues tend to have major impacts to our customers. So we want to eliminate or minimize the amount of impacts that we do have. So 67 panels were installed, clearing 293 defects in this area. This only helps to improve the performance in one of our strongest performing lines. For 2024, we are not stepping back on what our commitment is. Since we did plus over 800 panels for 2023, our goal is to do the same for 2024. We're confident that these efforts to do more critical tasks, working more efficiently, and not forsaking the serious nature of the work that we perform by making sure that this is being done safely, will lead to our delivering our customers with a more faster and safer system for our customers. And that's it.
Thank you, Demetrius. Any questions for Demetrius? If not, we move on. Rich?
Yeah, we're going to conclude. I think Q is going to give a short presentation at the Finance Committee, so appreciate that, Q. I think we're going to conclude with recognizing a couple of officers. Chief, I don't know if your officers are here in the... They are. Okay. Perfect. Excellent. Well, let me speak about them as we go get them. How's that? Yes, we have... yes. Yes, we do. So on Saturday, January 27th at Lafayette Avenue Station, I think we have a video to show you as well, the body cam. On the C line, we witnessed true act of life-saving heroism. You'll see from the body camera footage in just a moment, words can't even describe and capture the efforts of 2 NYPD police officers who just walked in and our subway station agent. When a customer had a medical episode and collapsed on the tracks, Officers Chowdhury and Caminero were 1 station away, but as you see, they hoofed it 1 station. Can I say hoofed it? I would have hoofed it. I would have been... but hearing reports of the incident, they sprung into action, sprinting to the platform, stopping an oncoming train, and getting the customer up to safety. I also want to recognize the station agent, Herbert Houghton, who couldn't be here today, was performing his duties outside of the booth, saw the incident, and assisted the officers. But let's cue up the body cam first, and then we'll recognize these tremendous officers.
Affirmative. This is an Eale. Come on. Give me a hand. Quick, give me a hand.
Give me your hand, quick, train, give me your hand. Come on. Thank you, bro. All right, sit down. Yeah, go down.
Amazing. And Chair, that concludes our report.
I was going to say. Thank you. That's tremendous work. Thank you very, very much. Are we done? Okay. Can I entertain, since we have no procurements, can I entertain a motion to, oh, Midori's got a question. No. Motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor, thank you very, very much, everyone. I think we're taking a quick picture of our All-Stars? Yes. Okay.